Hello and welcome to Sci-Fi Book Trek. Today we'll be reviewing Halo Fall of Reach.
Also known as Andy's nemesis.
Also, it's all his fault.
So, Fall of Reach, published in October 2001 and written by Eric Nylund in 7 weeks.
Yeah.
The game itself, it's obviously based on the titular Halo game that came out the same year.
November.
Yeah. So, the fact that it came before the game is...
Well, I mean, he's dealing with the events before the game.
But I didn't know about this, or at least I didn't know about the book before the game. So considering it's an Xbox launch title, the idea that it's an award-winning Xbox game probably goes with that territory. Oh, we sold hundreds and thousands of copies, but every single one went out with basically an Xbox because that's the only thing that was available at the time.
But also, from what I recall, Halo was the only game to play at the time.
Yes.
Pretty much, like, he was the only one of worth.
I mean, it's still not a bad game, to be fair. However, that's not where we're going today.
The copies we have are from 2007.
So it's the reprint.
Yes, but not the full reprint, because I believe there was a reprint around 2010, which maybe took out some errors and corrected one or two things with the lore of how it changed in the game later on and stuff like that. From what I gather, but we haven't read that. We've read 2007 version, so
yeah,
that's what the reviews are.
Admittedly, one of the things I've got in my notes is that with the game, with the lore changes, certainly the later games, I think some of this is not going to be particularly accurate anymore. It's a little difficult to confirm that, admittedly. Without going too deeply into spoiler territory, for this book or others in the series, I know some points of reference are introduced within the games, other books or later media that can sometimes cause small continuity errors that could impact the narrative through line for this book. For instance, the introduction of the Spartan 3s. But as you'll soon see, I do admittedly have a limited knowledge of some of the later storyline past Halo 3. So please bear with me if I'm not completely up to date with the Halo universe at large.
Well, I mean, on that note, what have you played of the Halo series?
Played Halo 1. Still own Halo 1. Kind of missed out on Halo 2, although I have seen playthroughs done of it. I didn't really get to play it. And I played through Halo 3. Enjoyed that. After that, it kind of... my interest fell off in the series because it seemed like it had come to a fairly good conclusion.
I mean, for me, I've played 1, 2, and 3. Loved them. Got to the end of 3 and went, yep, that's right. That's the ending. Never picked up another Halo again. I point this out because I do strongly believe if you haven't played Halo, don't read the book. Or if you're not going to play Halo, don't read the book.
Yeah. I would tentatively agree with that sentiment. There is some stuff that you can get out of it, but this book is not designed to be read on its own. It's designed to be part of the bigger series, and you're only going to get that with the game knowledge. You're only going to get that if you've actually got an interest in Halo. Otherwise, there's not really enough here to keep you interested.
I mean,
unless you're gonna...
If you're big on military sci-fi, maybe give it a go. But for me, there isn't enough there for it to be standalone.
Yeah, I would agree. That said, I still enjoyed it.
Oh no, for what there was, I did like it.
Mm.
However, it always felt like he was trying to combine about 3 stories together and not doing any of them real justice.
Yes.
And it would pick up things only to just throw them away and pick up something else and throw it away.
There's an entire character that is given pretty much an entire chapter. I'm not going to go into spoilers here. There's a character that's given an entire chapter, and in the follow-up book, he's literally killed off in the first few minutes.
Well, also, if you know the game, there are a number of characters in here which don't make it through the first game.
No.
There's one which makes it all the way to the 3rd game, but
Is he in this book?
yes, he appears almost right at the end.
Right. I think I know who you mean.
Yeah. There is a cutscene of him dying in the Halo 1, but that's more of a throwaway gag.
Yes. And
because he does come back in 2, I think in 2. I definitely know in 3 because...
well, in actual fact, he's followed up in Nylund's 2nd book. Not the 2nd book in the series, which is The Flood, but Nylund's follow-up book, First Strike. He comes back in that.
I mean, that's... the problem for me with it was it didn't really know what it was going for, and as a result, it doesn't tell a full story.
Mm.
It really felt like it was done to a deadline and done to, a point in the book he's got to end at.
Well, there's the thing when
and
you
everything
say about,
else was just.
But when you say about the deadline, the fact when I looked into the background research of this and found out that he'd written it in 7 weeks, as in 7 weeks, literally wrote the whole book. I'm impressed because there's a lot of content in there. But like you say, it's part gritty war film, part personal character study, part space opera. There's
a lot of good individual scenes in there.
Mm.
The problem is they don't feel connected or fleshed out to any great degree. And there are some themes he tries to, well, I wouldn't even say tries to grapple with, doesn't he? Just picks them up. It feels like an exam where the question is, is this person a monster or a hero? Discuss.
Mm.
And that's it. There's no more to it. And even I'm adding the word discuss to that sentence.
Well, I agree. Specifically, one of the things that I picked up about John 117, the Master Chief himself, he starts off as one way, or at least starts off one way. By the end of the book, he is thinking differently, he's treating people differently, but there is no progression to how he gets to that point. He's just literally changed from one point to another.
I'm not 100%. I wouldn't agree with you, but the bits with John does feel like, oh, John Spartan will remember this. It does feel like the key elements in his life condensed. But also, John doesn't really feel like a character.
He's a massive Gary Stu.
Well, no, he's just he is what Master Chief is. He's a soldier. He's a grunt. He has no personality outside of that, which is fair and completely fine. all Master Chief's parts are very condensed, and they are good, but they do feel like it's not really a book about Master Chief. It's introducing Master Chief, not really about him. And he's not really a character. I would say maybe until the end, but that's because of someone else helping humanize him and to bring out more of his personality. I would say.
I don't necessarily agree with that. As I say,
Okay.
I felt like Chief, he makes these. There's several points during his life where he does something, and then by the time you get to the next point, it's like, oh, I've chosen not to do that anymore. But there's no real point at which he's made that decision that actually what I did was wrong, or I mean that.
Yeah, though I agree, but then again, no one ever really tells him that it's wrong. They just
Like
infer, and then it's Master Chief's assumption, like, oh, maybe I should do it sort of differently.
But the fact with what he went through, I can kind of understand why he is the way that he is.
Yeah.
And
he's
that's
very
an entire spoilery.
Yeah.
I
mean, they made him the person he is.
Yes. The one character I like, I think, more than any of the others is Captain Keyes, weirdly enough. Because he seems the only human.
Yes. However, I do like Halsey.
Are you serious?
We are going to disagree heavily on this.
I really like Halsey. I don't know.
Oh boy!
Something about Halsey I like. He's good. Yeah, I do like Halsey as well.
I don't know what to think of that.
But anyway, the main characters in it are probably Halsey, John 117, Master Chief.
Cortana.
Yeah, but she doesn't appear.
She features second act into third act.
Yeah.
You could combine her with Halsey.
Yeah, for reasons we won't go into. And the other one is Keyes. But I say those are main characters. They do pop in and out of the book.
Yeah.
But yeah, overall, I would say this is a book that is serviceable. It does the job that it's meant to do. I probably would never reread it.
Yeah. But I think I've already made my point clear. If you're not a Halo fan, if you have no interest in the Halo series, there's not going to be enough in the book to keep you interested as a sci-fi, as a sci-fi epic. It's designed to be read alongside the other books. It's designed to be read alongside the games, and if you aren't immersing yourself in that content, there's not really enough to keep you invested. So if you're a fan, great, give it a read. If not, give it a miss.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think that's probably about it for a review, unless there's anything you want to add.
I can't think of anything at the moment.
Well then, thank you, and I hope you enjoy our review of Halo, All of Reach. If you didn't, leave a comment.
Tune in next week. We'll be... How many outtakes? All of the outtakes.
Tune in next week and bugger. Curse!